Well, welcome back everybody. We're continuing to work on the new RX7 Ultra and specifically working on the sight right now. New sight for me with this build so far. I've shot the Axcel products in the past. This new Landslyde is new to me, specifically the Picatinny adjustment, and kind of working back through some of the process of just getting this ready to get out just outside and shoot some 3D and possibly hunt with it. A couple initial takeaways I want to start with. The base setup of how this is configured, I need to tweak it a little bit. And what I mean by that is, if you can see here, okay, so I like to keep my pins more centered in the housing. I've got a 3-pin sight here. They're centered. That 30-yard pin, which is the second pin, is pretty much dead center. With doing that, you can see on my elevation block that these are sighted in pretty close now, 20, 30, 40. I've got about, I don't know, 40 shots, 50 shots through the bow today so far, tinkering with a few things. And what's happening now is, if I go to one of the pre-made metal sight tapes, which what I'd like to do, I'm on the bottom end of this. So I'm gonna have to take the block here and I'm gonna move the block down. The housing is going to stay about this elevation, but now that block's going to come down another quarter to a half inch, depending on how much I can lower it, putting the drive back in the center of the whole sight block. So going to have to take it apart, put it back together, and get it reset, which shouldn't take too long. In the process, I'll recheck second axis. I've already checked third, so if I don't move that door hinge adjustment there, shouldn't mess with third axis. But while I'm talking about second, third axis, this sight is quite a bit different, more intricate, I would say, than some of the black golds I've shot in the past, because you have multiple parts and pieces that can move and potentially come loose. So with that being said, third axis, again, you got a couple adjustment points here to where you can swing this housing in or out. Again, if you're looking at it this way, we're talking about this adjustment. And as far as the second axis, a couple adjustment screws here and here to pivot it this way. So going to go through the process, retighten everything, and then check and see that everything is leveled up, and come back in and keep working through the process. This show is brought to you by Maven Optics. Head over to mavenbuilt.com, check out their full selection of gear and optics, and when you're getting ready to check out, make sure you enter the promo code ALPHAGIFT in full caps. Once again, that's ALPHAGIFT in full caps, and they're going to throw you in a free bonus gift with your next purchase of any set of optics. Now, back to the show. All right, we're back from the shop. I'm here at home now and going to walk through some of the adjustments I've made, takeaways, and give you my feedback on this Landslyde sight so far. So I moved the block down, what I thought was as far as it goes, and I actually see there's one more adjustment setting to go down, which I'll come back to that in a sec. Re-leveled up the sight block. Again, first, second axis. I didn't check third because I didn't move the third axis. And I didn't move it in or out at all either. I just moved the block down. So got back, sighted it back in, 20, 30, 40, found the pin, the metal tape that best corresponds with the amount of pin gap between 20 and 40 so far. Put that on. You've got multiple adjustment points on the inside of the sight here, angled sight guard, or display, I should say, for your sight, which is nice. But in doing so, this sight is designed for you to be able to use multiple indicators. And what I've just figured out while adjusting and setting up this sight is that because of the way that I anchor, when I draw back and anchor, my nose still comes slightly on to the string to find that second reference. In doing so, because my anchor hand in my position is slightly higher on my jaw, that measurement between my eyesight and my arrow is on the shorter side. That translates forward to your adjustability on how your sight gets set. So if I was someone who drew back and anchored lower on my jaw and my head was more upright, then that distance would be slightly bigger, and in turn this would be slightly higher. So figuring out that I'm essentially at the bottom edge of the adjustment on the block, and now this pin, this metal pin gauge here is also in its lowest setting, and I can only put one indicator needle in there because of that. Seeing, going back now, going back to where I started earlier, where I think I can move the block down one more position and I should be able to lower or raise everything back up and get to where I can use both indicator needles. However, right now I set the indicator at 40, which corresponds with my bottom pin, which is standard how I've used other sights in the past, these driver sights. So I'm gonna run it there for a little bit and really start shooting it. Once I go to change the string and cables out, then I'll come back and probably readjust this, assuming I keep the 3-pin head. I may end up actually going to a single pin head for 3D and just getting used to the bow. I prefer to shoot and aim with the single pin head. I prefer to hunt with the multiple pin head, but learning a new bow like this, getting out shooting 3D, I usually like to shoot a single pin. So going back to the adjustability, not super happy on this one component here, this metal sight tape piece. It's got a Phillips head screw to adjust. So again, I've had a situation where I've actually had not this sight, but a sight like this with the screws that mount the sight to the riser come loose while I was on a stock for antelope, and I happened to have forgot my Allen keys back at the truck. By the time I get back to the truck, find my Allen wrenches, tighten it up, obviously that stock was blown. This situation here, now, I mean, I'm religious about keeping my Allen keys in my bino harness now. Now this introduces one more tool that I have to have, and I usually keep a multi-tool, so I think it should fit, I should be okay, but just food for thought. Everything, they give you a ton of Allen keys with this kit for all these different adjustments, but then they send you some screws with a Phillips head. Anyway, a little disappointing there. But going into the sight, I'm gonna actually take the smallest dab of Loctite, blue Loctite at that, and I'm gonna start backing out some of these screws, second axis, third axis, for example, the sight block. I'm gonna start to really try to bulletproof this sight so that way it minimizes, again, that negative experience I had many years ago in the field with a screw coming loose. I want to avoid that. So I don't know if it's recommended or not. I know that some of these smaller screws, it's usually not recommended to put a lot of Loctite on there, but I'm going to do it anyway. Some of these have washers on there, but you shoot these bows long enough, the vibration, everything, you know, just hiking in the field, in and out of trucks, you know, everything, all the vibration that can come into play, I don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to, even though I may or may not be, I'm not telling you to do this, I'm just telling you I'm going to do it and see what happens and see how everything plays out. Like I said, just going to use the smallest amount of that because I still want to be able to loosen or adjust something if I need to. Other than that, really like the adjustability in this sight. Okay, so you've got windage adjustment here, and you've got a locking key that you can lock it in play, flip it out, okay, lock it back in place as you make an adjustment. Tension screw for your dial, you can loosen that. You push the whole dial in. You got to rapid adjust. You can use this sight to do this sight. Also, another adjustment that I made while I moved the block was I set this stop. So in the event that I'm shooting max distance, I'm going to be able to run this stop down until it hits the stop. So right now, the way that this sight is set for me, hitting the stop, and the way I checked this was I raised my launcher, shoved an arrow in there, and I checked that I had clearance. So right now it looks like my max distance is going to be around 97 yards as the pins are currently set. That's a different video on, it's a personal thing on how you decide to adjust your pin configuration and where you adjust it in the housing. But the way that this sight is currently configured, that's where I'm at. But I do like the adjustment features. Like I said, the dial is nice, the driver wheel is nice, the windage adjust, the lock is nice, the draw, the max distance stop is nice. You can also put that in different positions on the outside of this block. So another option might be you want it on the top end of your adjustment scale. So 20, 30, 40 is how I have my pin set. Maybe a scenario is I'm on a stalk, I got an animal, a shot opportunity at 57 yards, for example. Loosen the tension dial, run the sight down to 57. Maybe that shot does not present itself and you're still hunting. You want to quickly just loosen that, run the sight up to where it hits that stop so you know 20, 30, 40 again, right? Your pins are reset. You don't even have to look at it. So this gives you a different reference that is nice in my opinion from a stop, whether it's on the high end or low end. A ton of adjustability. The Axcel sights is just known for having awesome adjustability. So those boxes are all checked. Now it's the durability phase that I'm going to be working into. And you know, as I just grab this sight and kind of give it a little bit of a tug and I'm putting good tension on it, everything feels pretty tight. Usually you can feel a sight if it's got slop anywhere. I wouldn't say that this Axcel has any more movement than this black gold I hunted with last year. Everything's pretty tight. Everything initially feels tight on the tolerances. So the pins, like I said, it does have a bladed style pin. Hopefully that is a good thing. You do have this cover that you can slide back and forth on your housing to help regulate for pin brightness. We'll see if that stays on there or not. That is one thing that I can see over time maybe coming loose. So we'll see if that stays on there or not. Other than that, I really like the sight so far. Like I said, no complaints about any of the adjustability, with the exception of now I got to still go make one more adjustment to get those two indicators to work. But other than that, expensive sight, pretty tough right now to get your hands on one of these, and looking forward to playing with it more. So, you know, if you are considering one of these, those are some of the ins and outs that I've come across so far. So take that for what you will, see how it fits into your system. You know, I appreciate you following, watching the video all the way through. If you're newer to this channel, you know, one of our biggest goals with the Alpha Bowhunting channel and Alpha Bowhunting in general is, you know, we want to help present the information, whether it's from a setup standpoint, whether if it's building a plan for the field, you know, anything preparation wise to where it helps translate into more success, more consistent success in the field, you know, helping you become one of those top 10% bow hunters that notch tags every year. That's what we're all about. So if you like the content, make sure you like and subscribe. Hope to see you on the next video, and we're going to keep diving into some of the new accessories on this current build and just bring you some other topics that come along the way as we go. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys soon.